All right, everybody, and welcome to session 6, right? Does it still say session 5 on there? Oh, I've screwed up everything. Let me live edit that really quick. Session 6. Oh, nope, screwed it up.
Unplayable.
There it is, unplayable, immersion ruined. But welcome to session 6 of Mechwarrior Destiny, Salvaged Destiny, Mechwarrior Destiny actual play, and I'm Dare Wolf, the game master. And I'm feeling a little jittery today, because I was just playing some Hunt Showdown with one of my good friends, Blau, and we ended a streamer's stream early because I headshot him from across the map, and that always feels a little good. I mean, it's a little mean, I guess, but his stream name was "Let's Go Stomp Some Noobs in the Bayou." So as soon as I found that out, I didn't feel bad at all. But with that being said, enough about Hunt Showdown, which I played way too much of. Sorry, everybody. We're gonna hear from our players and my friends, and they're gonna tell us about who they're playing, and I don't know, maybe their names or something if they feel like it. But why don't we start with Lawrence? Go left to right, and then we'll get into some play.
I am the international man of mystery, and you shall not get my name. Now, Hourly B. Anders, I'm playing Lawrence, who is more of the warrior set to Cyprian's kind of more doesn't want to be here, doesn't want to fight or hurt anybody. And yeah, should we go into the ice cream thing or nah?
What is your favorite ice cream? No. What is your favorite ice cream? Let's do it. Let's share it with everyone. What's your favorite ice cream?
Bouncing between Milky Way and Blue Moon. It's if I'm in a fruit or chocolate moon.
Strong.
But yep.
Willow, you're up next.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I'm still sounding a little hoarse. I'm still recovering from the COVID. I'm like 98%. I am Strom plays on just about everywhere. And I play Willow, who is the just so lovable, love to hate him kind of guy, you know? And my favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip with a very strong second contender of Java chip.
Java chip, like coffee ice cream?
Yeah.
I've never had that. That sounds amazing.
Man, it's great.
Is there a particular brand you'd recommend?
Yeah, I only eat Haagen-Dazs because I actually don't really like ice cream. So
Okay.
Haagen-Dazs is fantastic.
That's, you know what? Strong. I like it. Steve, fill us in.
Hi, I'm Steve. I am not really on the internet apart from maybe Facebook, but that's irrelevant. I'll be playing Cyprian, who is, as Anders said, is kind of not really into this whole mech piloting thing, but he one-shotted a battle mech last time, so now he's kind of like, oh, maybe I can do this. So, yeah, we'll see.
And your favorite ice cream?
Either a good vanilla or salted caramel.
I like it. And last and certainly least, Aaron.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Aaron. I'm playing Callum Van Buren. He is a war orphan from the clan invasion who has now had to abandon his second home to the onslaught of an oncoming war, and typically serves as the forward scout for the Lance. And my favorite ice cream, I was thinking about this a little bit more. I love a good Neapolitan if it's going to be just a standard, hard serve ice cream. But if it's going to be soft serve, probably a nice mint chocolate in a chocolate shell in a waffle cone.
Oh, that's my other question. Is it like, do you like cups or cones? I'm not a big fan of cones personally. I'm a fan of cups.
For like hard serve ice cream, like it almost like cup for that.
Sure.
But like for a soft serve, which arguably could be said is not actually ice cream, but I'd take a cone for that shiz.
Yeah, I'll take that one on the chin. That's fine. And of course, I'm Dare Wolf. I'm the game master. My favorite ice cream is a small mix in a cup with sprinkles and eyebrows. Eyebrows? No, sprinkles and eyeballs. I said eyebrows. I don't know why. I was looking at my eyebrows when I said it. Sprinkles and eyeballs, the little sugar eyeballs you get. And my local ice cream parlor puts 3 eyeballs on there and calls it an alien. So it's very good. But with that being said, we open our scene with an exterior shot of 2 Leopard-class dropships kind of hidden behind the quote-unquote dark side of a moon of one of the planets, not Kentares IV, but one of the planets in the solar system. After escaping from the war zone, the battlefield that was on Kentares IV, the dropships made haste, made quick movement towards one of those, peripheral planets, and they've currently been just in orbit around this moon. And right now it's just let's wait, let's see if things calm down. There's a lot of comm chatter, a lot of comm traffic about what's been going on in Kentares. All of the news states that the Duke has been captured, potentially killed. The army of Kentares IV, half of them have sided with Katrina. The other half, there's kind of this civil war going on right now, but it looks like Katrina Steiner's forces are going to likely win this battle because both they sent additional forces and there's a civil war happening where half the side, so they outnumber the side that's still allied with the Duke. But we're actually going to open our scene in the recommissioned mech bay of the dropship, and it's not quite fully put together like you might want to see on a dropship. But we're going to open our scene with all of the mechs have been put into these kind of temporary gantries. It's mostly like cranes for lifting supplies and tools and things of that nature. And I'd like to open with actually Lawrence, who is going to be next to, and if remind me, Lawrence, your mech is the Griffin, correct?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Yep. So you are by the Griffin, which is over on the blue side right here, and I guess, what would you have been doing? I don't want to put words into your mouth. Lawrence, it's been 2 days since the events. Most of it's just been, let's get everything secured. Let's count our supplies. Let's do, let's just make sure that everyone's stable in this moment. What would Lawrence have been doing, say, second day after the fights, after the battle? You've had this is really the first moment you've had some downtime to yourself since everything happened.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be largely busying himself with writing an email effectively to his parents on Robinson, letting him know that he got off planet, letting him know that he's safe, that he's with his squad mates, and also that he doesn't know necessarily if he's going to be picking a side in this war, but he knows that it's not going to be with Katrina or Catherine Steiner. And he's just going to let that out there, and he's going to say, like, I don't know where we're going to, but I'm going to suggest that we come to Robinson because I know the 10th Lyrans aren't with Katrina. And that's how he's going to leave it. And he's going to send it out. And after that, he's going to look at the Griffin that hopefully it's still intact. It didn't get pierced. So
no.
Is it getting
the
fixed?
Griffin? You see the Griffin, and there's some melted metals, some slagged bits. You can see the scorch marks, a couple of pop marks from some shells and ballistic ammo, and it still looks the exact same as it did at the end of the battle. You simply the Leopard class dropships that you're on right now, these two vessels, they simply do not have they're not currently conditioned for that kind of repair. And as Lawrence approaches this dropship, you don't see anyone around. You actually see, by your mech, you don't see anyone right away. You do see over by the Stormcrow, you see Tom is currently working with some met techs, just trying to potentially put some things together. I think we just lost Steve. Steve is back. But you see him working. They're starting to do some inventory and talk about, all right, well, if we could use these cutters to potentially patchwork this right now, but how important is it that we actually, have these mechs ready to fight? Are we going into another fight? And there's a lot of questions that Tom is fielding simultaneously on the other side through the little doorway that leads to the other side of this bay, this mech bay, or the cargo bay that's been turned into this mech bay. You'd hear Richie, who that levity that he usually carries with himself, that humor, that joke, it's non-existent in him. There's a very seriousness to his tone. It's all right. I need to make sure. So I need another count on the ammo. I need another count on any of the extra metal supplies, shielding, anything that we have. I know I've had you do it 6 fucking times. Do it again. And it's just like, he's trying to keep people busy, and you can hear it in his voice. He's simply trying to stay busy. There's this almost unspoken edginess across the entire ship, and maybe even when you pass people in the holes or in the walkways, there's this averting eyes, because no one really wants to admit or really take in everything that's happened. It's just, let's busy ourselves with whatever busy work we can to keep things rolling. But as you walk up to your griffin, you actually hear a faint kind of sniffle. Might even be considered just someone crying. And as you look to the left, let's imagine you've walked down this walkway in the center. You've meandered your way over. The bay itself is relatively empty. And you find Dina. And she's crouching in between two large barrels. And she's got a big wrench. Like, I'm talking like a honking wrench that, the head of it, the teeth are like as big as her fist, and she's just holding on to it and is crouched low and just looks like she's trying to hide between these two barrels, and doesn't notice you at first, but you can hear her just very quietly kind of crying to herself. And I'm curious, how would Lawrence approach that situation?
Oh boy, this is not something that he is good at, but he will walk over because it's going to be entertaining anyway. And he's going to, I guess, knock on one of the barrels to try and get her attention. And not like, banging, but he's going to be like, are you okay?
You knock on the barrel, and as you ask, "Are you okay?" she quickly snaps to a kind of attention. The wrench in her hand drops to the floor. There's this loud clanging. You see Tom look over. A couple of the other mech techs look over. She stands up and she does this like weird, awkward salute. Sorry, sir. I can have. I'm sorry. We're working. Yes, sir. I'm fine, sir. Yes. The damage to your where's my paperwork? Shit. And then she like reaches over on top of another barrel. There's like some paperwork, some mech specs and things like that. She knocks it off. It falls to the ground. She quickly tries to pick it up, and you can just see she's frantically trying to pull herself together and is just mumbling about, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I have it should be. We just simply don't have. Fine, sir."
It's fine. I know that we're not going to get repairs done anytime soon. I'm just checking to make sure that you are okay. And are you okay?
Like you to roll a negotiations.
I do not have that.
And
I
I'm
am
really
captive.
excited because I rolled a 9, which is not terrible.
That would just be plus charisma, right?
Yeah, plus charisma if you don't have the skill.
Okay, yeah.
Meter beat.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yes. Lawrence doesn't fuck it up. I was really hoping you would. That's all right. So you reach out to her. You open yourself to her, and you see there is this resistance on her face. She takes a moment where you could tell that she wants to give you a bullshit answer. But she takes in a deep breath. She's holding this clipboard in her hand, and she sets it down on one of the barrels, and you could see the weight of everything. She was standing a little bit taller, but you see her shoulders sink, and she leans forward, one hand on the barrel as though it's the only thing keeping her standing upright. And she says, What are we gonna do? I mean, we've lost everything. We've lost everything. The sergeant is dead. The commander is dead. The duke is dead. We're a ragtag group of fucking recruits that just barely got graduated, and I don't have all the supplies I need to do what I need to do to fix these beautiful machines. And are we gonna die out here? I don't want to just die in the vacuum of space. I don't want to die. I just want to fix things. I just want to fix things, and then everything's broken, and I can't fix. And she starts to break down, just going on and on about how she can't fix things. And Dina, the only thing that keeps her sane is her ability to, as she puts it, fix these beautiful machines. and she can't handle this right now, and I'm curious, what does Lawrence say?
Lawrence is gonna like hold her on like both sides of her shoulders and say, "We got out of there alive. And what matters right now is that we have all the supplies we need to make it to another location. Now, it doesn't matter if it's going to be deeper in the Federated Suns or if we're going to go out towards the periphery and do mercenary work, because quite frankly, we escaped and the chain of command does not care to follow us. So we have 4 mechs that are at least together and can be repaired and can be put into fighting condition, whether we make it to a periphery station or back to the Federated Suns. We do not know what our plan is yet, but we have so many options available to us. I'm going to suggest that we head towards Robinson and relink with command. But what we need to do right now, I know it's partially a bullshit, but we need to stay together and keep ourselves together. Panicking won't help. And I know that that's hard to hear and that is not helpful inherently, but we are all together and we are all alive and we will all make it, Dina. I'm sorry I can't give you anything more reassuring than that, but I hope that is some comfort.
The right arm that is leaning on the barrel, your hands on her shoulders, you feel her press up against your shoulders, not to shove them off, but kind of like moving into them. And there's this rise, almost as though you're pulling her up. So these uplifting words you say to her are matched by this uplifting momentum as she kind of stands up and takes in a deep breath. So we are going to stay together, right? And she looks around the bay. She looks over at Tom, who is rubbing his chin and pointing at some of the damage on the which one is that one? That one's the Stormclaw. On the Stormclaw, some of the other mech techs are kind of scratching their heads. She looks through the bay over at the Griffin, over at the Hellhound. You can sort of see the Centurion through there as well. There's a couple other mech techs working around. Just not really much they can do, but they're trying to stay busy. And she says, but we are going to stay together, right? I mean,
I'm not leaving. You can stay assured of that.
And I can still do what I do best, right? I can still fix things, right?
You can. In fact, and is there anything that she can, because the Griffin is beaten up, but it's nothing went internal last round. So is there something that she can, I don't know, like diagnose on the computer, give her something to work on?
You tell me, Lawrence.
I'm going to say that she is able to work on helping out the targeting computer, specifically with there was like some gremlins with the Griffin moving in combat. It didn't get too bad, but just a razor can always get sharper. So
basically it was off by like a degree or so.
Yeah.
You could compensate for it. But as soon as you mention that, her entire demeanor changes. And that kind of frantic, almost manic nature that Dina has. Did you say there's something wrong with the targeting computer? Oh my God, I can fix that. I can totally fix it. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? Are you some sort of fucking idiot? And then she just like zips around, runs up on the side, gets on the little chain line. And she goes, you can't let these machines start to, if there's a slight variance, it starts to affect everything else. And oh my God, the worst thing about mechs is the fucking Mechwarriors. You all a bunch of fucking, she's inside the cockpit now and just starts to go crazy. And in your heart of hearts, that was a good thing to do. Well, good thing to do. I'm going to give you an extra point of edge because that was good, man. I really like that. I really, really, really like that.
I'm not going to tell Dina about the time that I jumped on a tank and then immediately started getting into a fist fight with
that.
With what was it?
Would be bad. I would not
Probably
recommend that. Our next scene is going to be in the kind of barracks area of one of the drop ships. And the barracks area, the sleeping quarters, is really just these rows of rooms. There's like a supply area. There's like an armory. There's like a toilets. There's a little like mess hall area where folks can sit. And we're actually going to pivot over to Callum. And Callum, you have, well, you tell me, what is Callum been doing to keep himself busy post the events of last session?
Uh, he's been a little withdrawn, and a little distant. He hasn't spoken much to anybody. Anybody who's paying attention would notice that he's not eating very much. It's mostly been keeping to himself.
Okay.
So I suppose really what he's doing is dwelling.
Dwelling. Okay. I like it. And Callum, it is late on the second day. You've been helping with, going over supplies, how much material you have, etc. And you finally have a moment to where your stomach is actually grumbling a little bit. And one of the captains, you're on Captain Upshire's leopard, which is the Stropo. There's the Ltropo and the Stropo. The Stropo, you're on that ship at this point, and they've kind of been linked together through, like, they're like in tandem together, so you can travel between both ships pretty easily through like a little umbilical cord style thing. But you're over on your side on this Stropo, and as you walk in, you haven't seen much of Yenni, but she is sitting at one of these small little round tables where the pilots, the crew, Mechwarriors can sit, have a meal. There's 4 different chairs, 2 tables in there. And she's sitting there just very absent-mindedly with this like little, looks like a TV dinner. And you can tell she's maybe had 2 or 3 bites of it. And she's just taking this little plastic fork. It's a little spork. And she's just kind of like playing with the nasty looking mashed potatoes and just kind of twirling them around there. And she doesn't even notice as the door slides open. You walk in and she doesn't even look up from her meal.
Yeah, and without saying anything, Callum will say, I picture he's got like maybe very much the same, like this like TV dinner in this identical tray with identical portions, and he'll just sort of set it down and start eating without saying anything, and then after a couple of minutes, he'll let out a sort of a sigh and look across the table at her and just say, "What happened to you guys?"
The spork in her hand, it's like this like white, imagine that white plastic spork you'd see at like grade school or something, right? It bends slightly as she grips it tightly, and you see it kind of do like a 90-degree angle, and then she drops it. Not even like almost as she didn't realize her own strength to like she has this like visceral reaction, and she doesn't look up at Callum, but she says, "It was a I, I've never seen a drop that fast and that intense. I mean, even in the simulators, they hit us all at once. The entire palace was surrounded, and I watched." It was a fucking slaughter, Callum. No mercy, no mercy. They just started killing, and I panicked, and I ran. I didn't even stay. I saw, and she starts to have this choking up moment, and I saw Helen's mech take an AC-20 round right to the cockpit, and I heard George and I heard Alan. I heard them scream that we had to get together. We had to, and I just ran. and I left them all to die, and I don't think I could ever forgive myself.
And Callum will start like sporking food into his face again, and through mouthfuls will just sort of look at her and say, "Who says you deserve to?"
And she looks over at Callum, meeting his gaze. I suppose I don't.
No, I don't. I don't think you quite understood what I was driving at. I'm not good with people. Very much I'm loyal, but I'm not good with them. Look, you don't have to forgive yourself, but that's where it has to come from. It can't come from outside. I don't hold what you did against you, because at the end of the day, you walked away. You survived. And now the only thing that matters is what you're going to do next. So I want you to look me in the face and tell me one thing. Are you going to sit here fucking around with a TV dinner, or are you going to get some goddamn payback?
Give me a negotiations.
I don't have that. It's an 8. Okay. But I do have an extra point of edge this time, so put my edge up the last session, so we'll see.
Boom! There it is. Fantastic. She looks over at you and says, I want some fucking payback, Callum. But I don't know if I can do it from the cockpit of a mech.
Okay. So if you can't stand in front of the people who did this, can you stand behind the people who will?
There is a small twinkle in her eye. A small, like she's having a thought. And there's even, you can even see a little bit of hope on her face, a little bit of purpose. You know, you can tell she's been a little bit lost these past couple of days. Self-doubt has bogged her down, but you could see that purpose in her face, and she says, yeah, I think I can. Do we, it's the HPG network is the one where you can send messages and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Do we know if these old clunkers have access to the HPG network?
I mean, anything but the comms array technically would. I don't know if it's a good idea that we send any transmissions.
I've got an idea. I think I've got to go talk to the captain.
No. We don't take this to the captain. We keep it in the unit. Let's go talk to Willow.
She nods. Yeah, let's do that. I think I know how I can help.
And I think I'd like to rope Strom into this scene.
Yeah, I like that. So let's cut forward a little bit. Maybe there's like a comm on the ship, and Callum asks Willow to come to the mess hall area, this little like dining area. And so Willow, you would arrive and you'd see Yenni and Callum sitting at the table. Maybe you even have your own TV dinner. Whatever you want. It's all good. Or maybe you've managed to sneak away some granola bars. Whatever you're into, Willow. I don't know. But you pop a squat and you see Yenni and Callum and Yenni, you've both been discussing that she has some, and she uses the term old contacts. She wasn't always a Mechwarrior. She used to work in logistics and used to work on like some like mining facilities, things like that. So she's got some old folks she might be able to reach out to for either work or maybe supplies. And she's just really starting to spitball ideas of like, what are we gonna do? And you're getting the impression that she's suggesting maybe we go mercenary for a while, maybe we build up things, and I think I can help us do that. So curious as Willow, you walk in kind of mid conversation.
It sounds like you have something important.
What were you saying?
Yeah, sit down.
Okay, have
Willow
fun.
will sit down. He is without any sort of food.
So I know Lawrence has the idea of heading to Robinson to link up with command. I don't necessarily disagree.
I do. I don't think that's a good idea. That's just
Okay.
going to rope us into this war even harder. And frankly, I don't know about you, Callum, but I didn't join the Palace Guard so I can be roped into a war. I joined it for a nice, cushy job.
Uh, well, it's funny. I joined the AFFC to fight. I didn't actually want to be in the Palace Guards.
Oh. Oh. Are you happy there's a war then? Getting to get to fight? Or is it the wrong fight? The
Not
wrong people?
well, maybe a little of both.
Trust me, Callum. When all you do is fight, and that's your entire world, it starts off with the wrong people, but it turns into anyone at all. And you can see Willow, he looks like he's uh he's he's looking at something that's probably in the past, not in front of him.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know what I'm gonna fight for now because I've spent years being told who it was that I was going to fight for. Now I get to decide, I guess. So maybe one of these days I'll decide to fight for myself.
You should start to decide that right now. You should always be fighting for yourself before anyone else. And Willow will look over to Yenni. That thing that you did when you got to our drop zone, that is how you make sure that you're fighting for yourself. And that right there is the only thing that'll keep you alive, really. I'll do my best to do what I can, and so will Lawrence. We'll do we'll look over each other's backs, but in the end, even when we're fighting for each other, we've got to fight for ourselves. Otherwise, we're not going to make it.
Right.
But
That's a good point.
I don't think this is what you called me down here for.
No. Yenni's got some contacts on a couple of periphery-facing mining colonies, and she worked in logistics. She knows the area. She may be able to help us drum up either work or supply.
The problem right now is we don't have enough money to really get anywhere. So I know Lawrence is talking about going to somewhere, but I mean that costs money. You got to pay for a jump ship, and
okay,
maybe we can rope Cyprian, and he's got rich parents.
We could. I don't like the idea of using people, but it's mutually beneficial in this case. They're here, they're with us. Our survival is their survival, and if we can rope some sort of special dispensation from FedCom command, well, we might be able to remain auxiliaries of the regular military and get to undertake mercenary contracts. We could have our cake and eat it too.
It sounds to me like a last resort kind of thing. I've been under the boot of a number of powerful organizations. And let's just say that even the nicest one, the Palace Guard, didn't end too well.
Well, then we need to, instead of being the bug, we need to be the board with the fucking nail in it.
I agree. But in order to do that, we need to get our ducks in a row. You have ducks on Kentares IV, right? It's not just
I'm not from there. I don't really. I saw swans once, I think.
What's a swan?
It's like a big duck.
They have swucks. It's a cross between a duck and a swan. Yeah.
I thought those were swains, the swan and crane.
No, swucks.
Oh, I mean, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, me too. Not a native of Kentares either.
Fair enough. So
Okay.
So I'd like to actually pause that scene here for a moment.
Yeah.
As you're all discussing kind of like what we're gonna do. There's this idea of maybe going mercenary, maybe also being auxiliary of the military. So like you said, having your cake and eat it too. And I'd like to actually pivot over to one of the. It's kind of like a conference room. There's an old kind of like digital display, holographic display table that is currently broken. But we're going to cut to this scene where we have, speaking of Cyprian, we have Cyprian and his mother and father inside of this, old, somewhat unused kind of like conference room right now. And you see Cyprian's father and mother are having some sort of intense conversation. His mother seems actually calm, and his father seems more edgy, more, and we cut kind of like right as Cyprian walks in, and your dad has actually asked you to meet your mother and him here, and he says, "We ran like cowards. I didn't become a corporal inside of the Kentares army just to run away when we are attacked. We need to go back. I need to link up with whatever is." And then the door is open. Cyprian walks in. His mother puts a hand up to his father and says, "Cyprian, thank you for meeting us here. It's good to see you are doing well, I assume."
Cyprian's going to sort of walk in and go to the opposite side of the table that they seem to be arguing, and then just put his hands on the table and just say, "I'm assuming he's doing the old running away and being coward speech again.
And
I'm a little bit tired of it now, Dad."
father crosses his arms, and there is a just blatant annoyance on his face. "I didn't raise my son to be a coward."
He's gonna totally interject and interrupt me. Like, "I'm pretty sure the last time that I checked that the penetration from an auto pistol definitely doesn't go through the front of a Panther. So what were you planning to do? What's your alternative to this whole situation? We have 4 mechs, 4 working mechs. We have 4 mech pilots. We have reasonable amount of supplies. We have at least options instead of graves, which is, incidentally, what pretty much everybody else that is still on Kentares IV, that's what they have, graves."
Your father's expression is one of mixed of acknowledging what you're saying is truthful, but also this deep-seated contempt that you're right, and he knows you're right. And your father, I don't know if you can even think of a time where he has admitted to you that what you said was right. He's always held you at this just unbelievably high standard. You could do well at something, and he said, "Well, why didn't you do even better?" That's the relationship you've had with your father, Corporal Cellian Devonne. And he uncrosses his arms, puts his hands on the table, so you're kind of mirroring each other. There's this almost kind of like you're in this battle. He's leaning forward, you're leaning forward, and it looks like he's about to say something, and your mother speaks up first. "That's precisely why I wish to speak with you, Cyprian. Your father and I simply want to know what the plan is. We, as you said, have 4 mechs, and it's actually your father that says, 'I thought I saw a couple of light mechs being loaded up into one of the other dropships as well.' She says, 'Be that as it may, what have you and the other members of Delta Company decided that we are to do? We can't sit here on the dark side of this moon forever, so we simply want to be informed. You see your father get a little upset here for a second, like, I want to do more than be, and she's like, we want to know what we can do to help as well.
Cyprian will like stop the sort of adversarial, confrontational stance and sort of stand up straighter, take his hands off the desk, and then sort of start pacing upwards and backwards and forwards, sort of half a dozen paces, just in not aggressive, just like in thought of, I've got this idea and that idea type thing, and said that there's options of going to Robinson, that Lawrence has picked up contacts there, and then I'm sure that the guys have got other options. I know that that Willow is bound to have some contacts that will give us work, whether that be mercenary work or otherwise. There's the option of potentially linking back up with command, but I'm not entirely sure.
That's exactly what we should do. We should link back up with command. We should get back into the fight. Kentares has not fallen. We can get back there. We can take it back from these usurpers. And your father starts to just go on and on. Even your mother can't stop him. And as he is just going on and on about linking back up, what does Cyprian do?
He's going to wait for him to run out of steam.
And he goes on for about a minute. Then he finally runs out of steam because he simply runs out of breath.
He's then going to talk to his mum and kind of not deliberately ignore his dad, but kind of sideline him from the conversation a little bit. He's going to ask his mum if she can help with some of the other civilians. This is the first time that a lot of them will have been on a dropship, or at least a mech armed dropship. They're going to need help in adjusting, and we need to know what their wishes are, whether they want to be dropped off at the nearest safe planet, or whether they want to be part and help. Do they want to be part of this? And then he'll turn back to his dad and say, you need to assist in providing tactical advice. You've done this for years. Whether we link up with command or not, we're going to need help. There's 4 of us. We're straight out of rookie school. We need advice and guidance, and we don't need ranting.
We're going to have you roll a negotiations check. Difficulty of 8. And if you don't have negotiations, you can roll 2d6 plus charisma against your father. Your mother is not even... Wow, that was great. 10. Well done, sir. So your mother just nods her head. That is something that I am more than capable of doing. And in fact, the young girl and the boy that you sent to us, I've overheard her and her brother talking, and they've mentioned their desire to assist. I'm not sure if they have the capabilities of eventually becoming, perhaps you can talk with them about ways they can assist. Idle hands are the devil's playground, so keeping everyone busy, I think, is the most important thing. I will meet with the civilians, and I will find out what they wish to do. My heart tells me that most of them will wish to be dropped off at the nearest habitable planet and allowed to figure their lives out from there. As for your father, you see him kind of cross his arms again. I'll put together some tactical specs and formula. That is something I can do, son.
This moment, we just need options. We just need options that we can decide what's the best plan going forward. Even if we can link up with command, we don't know what status this command structure is in, so it may not even be an option. But we just need things on the table, ideas on the table that we can spitball and see where to go from here. And he'll turn back to his mum and say that everybody has a skill. You just need to find out what it is. And then he's going to go and leave the room unless his parents stop him.
Yeah, no, you're able to exit the room, and I think that's a great cadence. We're gonna end that scene there, and we're actually gonna pivot back down to the dropship mech bay, the kind of storage / mech bay. And Lawrence, you've been listening to Yenni go on for a little bit, complaining about the idiots that are mech pilots and how they ruin everything and blah blah blah. It's all good. But with that being said, we actually watch as you turn and you see the young girl. You would remember her from the bar. She was the girl that was given that briefcase, etc. And there's a young boy. I'm actually going to show these to you, these two characters. And they're sitting and they're looking, both of them, and they're like having this little quiet conversation with each other, but they're both looking over at the mechs. And there's this kind of wide-eyed wonderment. And as you turn and you maybe meet their gaze for a second, you see the girl quickly kind of stand up, and she actually starts to make her way about halfway down these little metal stairs, and there's this longing kind of desire. You can tell she wants to ask you something, and as fate would have it, you'd have to make your way past her to go back to the kind of the heart of the ship. So as you approach, she says, hi, it was Lawrence. Wait, Lori? Lenny? Lawrence, right?
Yeah, Lawrence.
I was wondering, how does one become a mech pilot?
Lawrence will think on that for about 5 seconds or so. I'll say, well, there's a lot of training. You have to be physically fit, as I and the rest of my lancemates typically are. You have to have no balance issues. You have to have be able to link up with the neuro helmet. There's a lot of training. You can't just sign up for it like your infantry or like your tank commander. You have to have, and he will at this point do a relatively simple check. Like he'll do like a extremely quick burpee, basically.
Okay.
Like just in front of them.
Yeah.
It's something that he can do to demonstrate like how physically fit and how ready you have to be to just like act.
I like that. The younger boy, her younger brother, Bruce, he looks to be maybe 11 or 12. She herself is, a little bit older, 16, 17, just about quote unquote adult age. And you see him like kind of like flexing his little bicep, and there's like nothing there, and looking over at his sister with kind of hopeful eyes, and she watches it, and there's this like look of it, like she's impressed at what you've just done. Do you think me and my brother could ever? Well, do you think that we could ever be mech pilots?
He will look. So she's like 18, right? Or
Yeah, she's like
17?
basically an adult. She's
Okay.
older, yeah.
He absolutely. It's not a matter of necessarily if he can walk and talk and run and fine. Absolutely, he can get trained up as long as he looks at him and he's not wobbling or anything, right? The kid.
So you're actually gonna notice that the boy has a slight limp, little bit of a limp. Like he's not a gimp, but he's got a little limp.
Don't put me in this situation.
Oh, I'm putting you in that situation, sir. I'm putting you in that situation.
Then again, the thing
he looks very physically fit, all things considered.
Okay.
Maybe a little malnourished, but she looks like she's very put together. She's got some meat on her bones, as it were. But he does not look like, and maybe it's just he's a little younger. Maybe he's a little awkward. Maybe he's a little gimpy. Because he's just small, gangly, not gimpy, gangly.
Okay.
He's like in that growth spurt phase where like maybe one leg's longer than the other. I don't know. But he at this moment, with a quick glance, you'd say probably not. But maybe he'll grow into it. You don't know.
So yeah, I think Lawrence is gonna say, you might be able to sign up, ask for Mechwarrior training, and I don't see any reason why you can't. It's very hard training, but I don't see any reason. And he'll turn to Bruce and
Hope in his eyes. Childlike hope in his eyes.
do something for me. Run to my griffin and back if you can.
Oh, no. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be rolling against myself. I'm going to roll 3d6. Wow! Wow! I rolled 3d6. He's going to roll an agility check here. And
Does it go negative?
so you can see him. He runs, okay? And you can tell he's got a little bit of a limp, but he's learned to compensate for it. So while he runs slightly awkwardly, he does so at a gait that is respectable for a child his age. He tags the leg of the griffin. You hear Dina say, "Get your hands off my mech!" And he goes, "Ha!" and then runs back towards you. Oh, I grabbed the griffin. He runs back towards you and goes, "Did I do okay, sir?"
You did very well. I am not in the interest of lying. I will admit this. You have a limp. However, I have known several mech warriors who have fought for years with no legs, who have even worse mobility than you do out of a mech. It is absolutely possible. You just have to keep training, and you have to know that you are getting into this with a disadvantage, but you can make it. And that is, Aaron can correct me on this, but that is true, that it doesn't matter your physical condition necessarily, just as long as you have balance.
Yeah, really, it's as long as you have, the ability to interface with a neuro helmet is the most important part.
Mhm.
So any sort of neurological damage would be bad. So if that's the reason for his limp, then he could be in
Yeah.
trouble.
But
I think that's a good cadence there, as you see the little kids like looking at you with this, like, you can tell you've made his freaking day, maybe his month, maybe the next year. He looks so excited. He looks to his sister. She's smiling. And she asks the last question she's going to have for Lawrence is, so how do we start? And I don't want you to answer it. I want to leave that kind of hanging in the air because I like that. But we're going to pivot back, and I want to actually open the floor to everyone. I've got a couple other scenes in mind that I'd like to have for you all here with this session 6. But is there any other moments, scenes, interactions between NPCs, between each other, anything that you guys would like to have so I can kind of set that up for you?
Willow would like to talk to Cyprian.
Beautiful. And where would you like to have that conversation?
Wherever Cyprian is at the moment.
So we're actually going to catch Cyprian as he's walking back to the... You know what? Let's actually catch him inside of the mech, the barracks area. You can kind of catch him in that like main hallway entrance. Maybe you're leaving, he's coming back in. Yenni and Callum are still having a conversation, and Yenni's coming up with all of these different ideas. She says, we could do some work simply on just like defense missions. We could do some like cargo where we just are like defending the cargo transports, be like guards, it's not gonna be great pay, but at least gets us up and off the ground. We can start to maybe expand the company, fix these hunk of junks, blah blah blah. Goes on and on and on. Of course, we'll have to get the captains on board, blah blah blah. And as you leave that conversation, you're gonna run into Cyprian walking in. And so let's pivot you guys over to that. And let me zoom in a little bit so everybody at home can see. But go ahead. You're walking into the barracks area. And take it away, gentlemen.
Cyprian, just the man I wanted to see.
Cyprian will kind of stop and look up. Great, yeah. I need to talk to you as well.
Oh, ominous. You go first.
He's going to kind of look down at the floor and look at his feet and and then look back up and then say, you're not from Kentares, are you?
Oh, not at all.
Have you had any news about your mother? She's an office worker, right?
Yes, I know Lancha. Yeah, and at the mention of his mother, Willow's like facial features darken ever so slightly and ever so briefly. And then his charming smile is back. So, yes. As far as I know, she's doing all right. I haven't heard too much word from Alancha. I think there's not a lot of strife there, not more than usual.
Cyprian will kind of, oh, that's good. Great news. If there's anything that we can do, just, you know where to find me. You know where I am. You know which bunk's mine. Just knock on the door if there's anything that I can do to help.
You're a nice guy. So, while I've got you here, turns out our Yenni here used to be quite the world traveler, so I'd say. She worked a lot of logistics and such before joining up in the Palace Guard. She's sitting with Callum right now, hatching mad schemes to try and get us mercenary work. Which, what do you think?
Great options. Well, at the moment we just need to gather options. I've told my dad to start thinking about what we can do to go forward from here. I know that we've got the option of Robinson and mercenary work is obviously potential, but I think we need to cast a wide net, get as much information that we can, and then throw it open to the floor and see what everybody thinks.
All right, but what do you think?
What do I think? Why? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of options. I guess
I heard you say options a lot. What do you think? Do you want to get back in this war? Do you want to stay out of this war? Do you want to get back to Kentares? Do you want to get out to the periphery?
long term, Kentares is my home, so it doesn't sit well with me that it's no longer my home. But in the immediate, I'm in no rush to go back there.
All right. Interesting. I wonder what it's like to be homesick. Just forgive me, just reminiscing. You said that your father was looking into options?
Yeah, well, he's got his old army buddies, his old Mechwarrior buddies. I'm sure he'll have a list of contacts as long as his arm of things that we can do and people that we can potentially link up with and either take the war to the enemy or sit on the sidelines and at least build our strength until we're ready.
I don't think 4 mech pilots and 4 medium mechs are going to take a war to anyone. But
well, depends how many others that we can group up with and at least support them.
That's not a bad idea. Like you said, options.
Yeah.
All right. I think I'm going to go talk to your father. Maybe you should get over there and talk to Yenni and Callum. They could probably use a cool head. I think Callum doesn't really know how to talk to Yenni, and I think Yenni is not really talking to Callum anymore. She's just talking at him at this point.
So as Willow departs and heads off looking for Cyprian's father, go ahead.
Cyprian is going to turn as Willow starts to walk off and is going to mention about being homesick and then kind of think better of it. It's kind of like, wait, no, those words didn't quite fit right. But then walk into the room with Callum and Yenni.
I love that. And Willow walks off. And Callum and Yenni, I'm curious from Callum, where in the conversation are you guys right now? I want to hear from you, Aaron. Where in the conversation does Callum walk in, or Cyprian walk in? Excuse me.
I think so. Yeah, the whole tenor of the conversation, I think, up to this point has just been different places that Yenni knows of, mining concerns, border colonies, places that would employ or could only afford to employ a small number of medium or light battle mechs, because that's basically all they'd be able to afford and be like a deterrent for, like, say, piracy or industrial raids. And I think at this point, Callum is, disagreeing with that approach, specifically because that sounds like a really good way to just tread water forever and never be able to accomplish anything.
Well, no, but if we head to Ramen or Clovis, I mean, Extra, those are all, I mean, they're moderately advanced industrial worlds. I mean, we could at least get some additional supplies, perhaps even gain some money so that we could head out to some of the farther, I guess, denser populated areas, get some better work. I mean, we are also going to have to get in touch with the mercenary group, and so we can actually get authorized to do mercenary work. I mean, there's a lot that's going to go on into this, but
right,
I think it's a great starting point, right? We got to start somewhere, right?
Right. So if we go out there as freelancers, we're not bonded by the MRBC. They can lowball us, pay us barely enough to keep our mechs armed, repaired, and have a few bucks for shore leave when our rotation comes around, and we end up being, wage slave for some pissant little mining operation.
Well, then we just go pirate.
Cyprian will
and I want that to be the moment you walk in, and you're not even sure if Yenni was joking, but that's what she says.
Yes, but your pirates are notorious for being extremely well equipped and wealthy.
Cyprian will make a quip of that. I mean, at least they divvy stuff out equally.
Oh God, Cyprian, not more of this socialist shit, please.
He'll walk over and sit down at the desk and go, so, Yenni's got ideas, I hear.
Oh, that's one way to put it, yeah.
He'll look at one of the trays and go to pick it up and go, is anybody still eating this? Is it one of those trays? Is it one of those trays that's got plate on it? Is it one of those weird American trays that's got like
the little divots?
I feel like it's got the divots.
Yeah, little divots and stuff. Yeah, that's what it is. It's one of those weird American trays, exactly.
Okay, he'll move all of the trays like to the side of the table and stack them up, and then pull out a marker pen that he's always got in his top pocket, and then start writing like on the table. Yeah. Like physically just on the white table.
Okay.
And just be like, number one. I go, okay, so what's idea one?
Well, I've got some old contacts I could reach out to. Likely get us some basic work, at least for the next month or two, so we could get some money to potentially go somewhere else. We just simply don't have enough resources right now to travel anywhere. I mean...
So mining defense work. Number two, what's the second idea?
Robinson.
Yeah.
Number three.
Well, I was going to get to number two, but she's been talking about number one for about an hour and 15 minutes.
It's a good idea, all right? I mean, it gets us... not everyone's out to screw us, Callum.
Cyprian will go...
Past experience has taught me that that's not the case.
Yeah, everybody's out to screw somebody.
I mean, our own military screwed us right off Kentares.
Yenni shuts up.
Exactly. The mining work, the defense deployment in the short term, I agree with in principle. On paper, I agree with it, but
it seems a short.
We're going to be starting in the red. We have mechs need repair. We don't have a single C build in our name. we don't have the means to. All we could do would be look good, and we can't even do that particularly well as a deterrent. I mean, if somebody a stiff breeze would blow through the armor on the torso of my Hellhound.
He'll tap the back end of the marker pen and go, and then point the end at Cal and go, well, we can fix that. We can get to that. So short term defense work, it gives us a few C bills. It enables us to repair up and arm up. How eager are people to go to Robinson? I guess. Well, Willow's gone off to talk to my dad. I don't know. He's going to try and come up with some ideas, but he needs to take a back seat. He's just going to drag us straight back into frontal conflict.
If I may, I think it's interesting. Lawrence, you have passed by the children. You haven't eaten in a while, so you're likely heading, because I'd like to get Lawrence involved in this conversation as well. So you walk in to find, just as Cyprian is going on, and I'd like to include you in this conversation as well. So you walk in. Cyprian, please continue with what you were saying.
Cyprian will look round at Lawrence that's just walked in. Ah, brilliant. Right. What's the plan with Robinson, Lawrence?
Well, simply put, I have family there with the 10th Iron Guard. Their commander said that they are allying with the Davians, which doesn't surprise me entirely. They've been in Federated Sun space for a while, but fact is that we could get our mechs repaired there, get everything fixed up, get supplies, and from there we can either re-link up with the Federated Suns in the war effort, which I don't know if we want to go back into war, or at the very least we can sign up as a mercenary company. As far as I know, any forces fleeing from a destroyed command structure are considered independent.
But see, that's the problem. That's the problem, Lawrence. And he jumps in. If we go to Robinson and they're just going to rope us back into the military, we're not going to have the option to leave. You think they're just going to let us run away with mechs that don't necessarily belong to us? I'm telling you, mercenary work, defense work. We go independent. That's where our future lies.
And maybe that's the case, Ian, but there's no palace to guard. These mechs were owned by the palace guards. Technically, I think Lawrence is right. I think technically these things would be considered salvage.
Hashtag legitimate salvage.
Yes. As far as they know, we are just an independent group looking to either get our mechs fixed up on the very large and plentiful mech manufacturing facilities on Robinson and possibly join up as mercenaries, or simply sign up with the MRB. We can swing for the fences and join with the Wolves Dragoons or with the Kells Hounds. Any number of reputable mercenary factions will have us. I don't know where they will send us. Likely, if we join up with a mercenary faction, we will end up in the war, just on a for-pay basis. But on that front, we'll have
Cyprian.
Yenni looks intrigued by that, actually. And she looks to Cyprian to say, that's option 3.
He'll write it down, but very nervously. Cyprian will look. I'm going to put my cards on the table. Kentares is my home. Short term, tactically we're at a disadvantage. We are 4 medium mechs with a couple of light mechs that might have made it onto the other ship. But we have no, even if we join up with a mercenary company, we may end up on the wrong side of this war. I want to go home at some point.
Not necessarily. What if we went with a group like well, I mean, if we joined the Hellhounds, we'd be on the Lyran side. everybody knows
Actually,
them.
actually, I believe, not to, tell me if I'm mitigating too much, but the Hellhound sided with the Davians. It's the Grey Death Legion I know is the biggest mech group that signed with the Steiners.
Yeah, at this point, I think they're still like ostensibly,
They're not getting involved.
think-
Yeah.
but they do. You're absolutely right. They do. But be that as it may, what about people like the Blue Star Irregulars?
That would be another option.
They back in 58, they basically flipped off Katrina and abandoned the planet that she had asked them to guard. I don't think she's going to have them back, or they'd go back. I mean, again, we're just spitballing. We could create our own command, but wouldn't be much of one with the equivalent firepower of 2 Atlases.
Yeah, scouting lance at best. And that's the other thing. If we go on our own, then we're going to be on the hook for any repairs that we have to make. Mercenary companies at least give, routes to getting things repaired easier, get discounts from favorable clients. On our own, we'd be footing the bill at cost at best. I know that they're technically clanners now, but the Wolves Dragoons, we could reach out to them. They always are getting work, and they always take care of their client. I don't know how Callum feels about them, but it's hard. It's a hard thing to go wrong with them.
They decided who they were when they turned their back on what they were. I don't have any objections.
Then I'll
I, for
point at
one-
I'll point at Steve and say, write that down.
He'll jot it down, but then we'll say, I'm in no position or no mood to swap one master for another. If we're going to do it, we do it ourselves. We make our own sea bills. We make our own way. We forge our own alliances. We're only a small unit, but from small shoots grow mighty trees.
I think if we're going to decide anything,
We
anybody
decide
who's
on
got any stake in this has to have a voice. The first thing we have to do is get out of this system. We need to get away from Kentares.
Agreed.
We have a jump ship scheduled to take us out of here, right?
As of yet, no. We've just been kind of a holding pattern, letting the fighting in Kentares settle down because the 2 captains are worried about being spotted and being, attacked. So they're just kind of hunkering down for the time being.
So, Cyprian, you said, your father is adamant about linking up with command and getting in the fight.
He's going to go and try and shoot an Atlas with a semi-auto pistol at this point. But
Right.
he's done this for years. He's at least going to know. He's going to at least have some contacts and at least give us some more ideas. I think.
Can he can he get us out of this system?
He
Cyprian,
probably hasn't.
in your head, you know that he can, but he's going to take some convincing.
He'll
if-
tell the group that he is not an easy person to convince.
I will try. Or Lawrence will say, if I may speak with him, I will try and convince him, though I am not. I'm good at tactics. I'm not good at people.
Good at tactics.
Well, in
not
this
good
in
at
this
tactics.
in
Neither is
this
he.
in this instance, you're dealing with a career military man. That might be an asset. Just don't, Cyprian. There are no heavy sticks or pool balls in that room, are there? Just make sure.
I
'cause
only
you never know
attack
with this man.
people who deserve it, and I don't attack family of friends. Those are two of the rules.
Cyprian will chuckle and go, "I'll go and take the cue balls and pool sticks out of the room now."
Good idea.
And I think there's a good cadence there. We all have ideas of where we plan to go, who we're going to talk with, and we're going to pivot over to Willow. And you've actually found Corporal Cellian inside of that same room where Cyprian had the conversation with him, and he's got the he's actually underneath the table, and he's currently fiddling around with it and trying to, you assume, fix the holographic display. And he's not having a lot of luck with it. But as you walk in, you just see the bottom part of his legs. He's up under the guts of this thing, grumbling to himself. And you actually hear him say, "Where the fuck is Cyprian? He could fix this. I mean, at least he's good at that." And son of a, just grumbling to himself. But yeah, I'd like to open the scene to you, good sir.
What's Cyprian's last name? Devonne, you said?
Devonne.
Yeah.
Mr. Devonne.
What? Damn! Kong! Ah! Son of a... Gets out, rubbing his forehead. Who the fuck are you? Sorry. It's Willow, right?
Been a stressful time. Willow, yes.
Apologies.
I understand.
Is there something I
don't
can
take
do
it.
for you?
Yes. I've heard that you have been asked by your son to get us some options about what to do in the future.
I have plenty of options. I know several of the, who I can assume to be still loyal to Kentares IV, who haven't turned yellow-bellied and betrayed what they signed up for and the honors and the oaths they took. We can link up with them, get back onto the planet's side, and do something to bring the fight back to Katrina, that bitch of a woman.
Do something. I'm sorry, sir. I thought you were in the military. Do you have anything more specific than something, or is that the best the military got?
We can fight, son. We can fight.
Fight. Why didn't I ever think of that? It's weird when I'm sitting in the cockpit of a 50-ton death dealing machine, and fighting just never comes up as an idea. This is the first I've heard of it.
He has a rag, and he wipes his hands with it, and the vein across his temple is bulging right now, and he looks beyond annoyed at your sassiness, but he says nothing until he finally breaks that silence. He let that hang in the air. Was there something I could help you with?
Yes, actually. I was coming to talk to you because we need options. We need an idea for the future that isn't do something and fight. We've tried the doing something and we've tried the fighting. And we not only did we lose our sergeant, we tried fighting on Kentares, and Kentares is lost. I understand it's your home. I get it. I really do. Cyprian feels the same way. I just spoke with him. He doesn't want to leave either. There's more in him. There's more of you in him than you think. But there's nothing we can do.
Give me a... I'm gonna let you use Streetwise on this, because I think you're being a little bit sly with this conversation, dropping in that more of him than you. Your difficulty in this is a 10. Nice roll. That vein starts to recede a little bit. He looks a little less annoyed. And you can see the gears in his mind starting to turn. And he says, I could potentially get us out of system, at least for the time being, so we could gather our strength and return with, well, more than a lance of medium mechs. I could...
Oh, that's a good tactical choice.
And with the mention of that's a good tactical choice, I'd like Lawrence to walk into this meeting as well, because Lawrence had mentioned wanting to go meet with the corporal. And he looks over at Lawrence, a little bit of shock, then looks back to Willow. And Lawrence, you see this conversation going on. What do you say as you enter into the room?
I'm going to listen for a bit to finally decide my tack of, like, my tax of choice.
Well, if we're going to exit this system for the time being, and he makes a concerted effort to say for the time being, actually lifting a finger, very, very just marked on those words, for the time being, then we need a location. We need a destination. And
I agree.
we need some way to make additional sea bills. I've got some money, enough to at least get us out of the system, but all of my accounts on Kentares IV were frozen. Be it a universal thing that took place on the planet, or it's because I was former military, I don't know, but most of the money we had access to is locked up.
Well, that has been my thought as well.
Would you
Willow
have
will
a
glance over to Lawrence and then say, I'm going to be frank here. And I'm not frank usually with anyone, but this is it's an interesting circumstance we find ourselves in. I don't care too much about the Duke, and I don't care too much about the palace or the palace guard, but what I do care about is the people that I spent these last few years serving with, getting into fights with. And Cyprian impressed upon me that a home is something that isn't replaceable. And I don't really know, I don't really think of Olancha as my home, but I do think of this lance as my home. And these lance mates are my family. And so, if for no one other's sake other than Cyprian's, I think we should come back to Kentares, and we should do everything we can to make sure that it is safe. But we can't do that now, and we can't do that with the strength that we have. We need a plan. We need to get better. We need to be bigger. I don't have the contacts for that. I don't have the contacts for that. I don't have any way to do that. You're a much more storied individual. You have contacts, I'm sure, that's outside the system, ways that you can leverage our fighting forces to make some sea bills. That sure, you can even take on the logistics and whatever shit goes on in a command structure, that if we have to do mercenary work, we're going to need someone to figure out what are the good paying jobs and what are the shit paying jobs. We're green, Mr. Devonne. We did a hell of a job getting us out of here, but I'm not fooling myself. We're rookies. We're not even rookies. We've had some tough fights. We've lost people. We've lost a lot. Some more than others. But we can't do this on our own. We need people with experience and expertise. And you're someone with experience and expertise. And we need you on board. We need you on our side.
Can I have you roll one more streetwise? against a 13 because this is a little manipulation, but I think it's beautiful manipulation. You are leaning into that almost arrogance of him that he has. And 14! Oh yes, let's go. I love it. Fantastic roll.
This is what Willow does.
This is
Willow
what Willow
talks good.
does. He talks good. And he's nodding his head, and you've seen when you were mentioning, I don't care about Kentares, I don't care about the military, the Palace Guard, he's starting to get angry, but then he started to talk about, care about my lance, the lance is my home, my fellow mech warriors, they are my people, etc., and I care about them, and eventually we'll go back, and you could see, like, it's working. It's affecting him. And he says, I could do that. I can help whip you recruits. And he says it a little bit condescendingly, but it's more playful in this moment. Recruits into true warriors. And given some time, and given enough successful missions, we can grow this into something. My first suggestion is that we meet with the 2 captains of the Leopard class dropships. We've got to get them on our side. We're going to need them for what's to come. And I think we should get everyone together to have this conversation. I'm going to go find my son.
And before, Willow will go around to the table and stick out his hand for him to shake it and say, I'm glad to have you working with us, Commander.
And he extends his hand, and he shakes yours. And it's a nice, firm, respectful handshake. And he looks at Willow and he says, you talk too much. And then he lets go of the handshake and turns, but there's a little smile on his face. He looks to Lawrence and gives him a very respectful nod. There's like an unspoken, like, you're a fighter, and you know that the corporal is a fighter as well. And he nods his head, absolutely. And the 2 of them, he's gonna exit out and go look. And I do want to open the floor again to any other scenes that anyone would like to have prior to. I'm thinking we're gonna have this like big group meeting on the bridge of the Stropo with everyone. But is there any other scenes that anyone wanted to have prior to heading to that kind of culmination scene where we discuss where we're going to head off to?
Cyprian, go on.
You go. No, you go.
Cyprian would want to go and like gather all of the mech techs together.
Okay, I like that. So we're going to pivot down to the mech bay. We are going to... Oops, that's the barracks. My bad. Immersion ruined. Oh, no. And we're going to have... Let's completely unplayable. And we're going to have it on your side. So you've got everyone together. You've got Tom. Even Dina pulls her head out of the of the griffin. She's got its targeting, like, little targeting box computer in her, and she's like fiddling with it as you're talking to them. But we're gonna have Cyprian gather everyone together, and I'm curious, does Cyprian have kind of like a commanding tone? Is he kind of acting like a leader in this moment?
Which is the mech that's most heavily damaged?
That would be I believe it was the Warhound, right? Wasn't it the Warhound that was most damaged?
Cyprian's mech is fine.
Yeah,
I know this
because Aaron's midsection was.
I didn't get breached, but
it was
Willow's
bad.
got breached. It was a Centurion.
Willow's got breached. Okay, so they're all around the Centurion, as you can call them up there. So that's where we'll open that scene to you, and they're all, you've ordered them, quote unquote, or asked them all together, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, so Cyprian is going to like gather them all up in like a friendly tone, and asking presumably Richie that was working on it, asking everybody else if they can come over and have a look at some of the damage on the Centurion.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I mean, I've always wondered why it's, never mind, not the right time. So I just simply don't have the right tools to fix it, man. I mean, we're gonna have to completely overhaul the guts of this ship and
Okay.
get it up and running. I mean, I could do basic patchwork, but it's going to be like, putting a piece of duct tape on a ship that's got a freaking, gouge in it. It is what it is.
Okay. We're going to change. We're going to change this whole setup in here. This doesn't work. You're working as individuals. You're not. Why does Dina work on one half and you work on the other half, and Tom seems to scurry around and try and fix things? Like it just doesn't work. You need to play to your strengths. You're working as individuals. You need to pool your skills together. You know, start thinking in the exact same way that the Mechwarriors do. They play to their strengths. Admittedly, we sometimes end up with this, and we'll gesture up at the damage to the Centurion. But when we all play to our strengths, we all walk away, battered and bruised, but walking away to fight another day. You need to start working together as a team, not as individuals. So from now on, we're not going to work as one person works on one side and one person works on the other side. You're all going to work on the things that you're good at.
So Tom actually pipes in, and not necessarily interrupting, but he waits for a pause, and he pipes in, he goes, I mean, that's all fine and good, Cyprian, but I mean, every lance has a lance leader, right? So which of us is in charge?
He will look over each of them, like, and pause on each of them as he.
Dina's not paying
stares at them.
attention. She's like got like a little screwdriver, and she's like into this thing, and like is looking at the little microchip component inside. She's like, oh, it's fucking burned out, of course. Oh, they keep pushing these things too hard. They have no respect for these machines. And she's like pulling out that chip and working.
When he gets to Richie on the end, he'll say, Richie, you're not in charge of everybody, but you direct people to the most critical tasks.
So I'm the boss.
No, you're not getting this whole thing.
Kind of sounds like I'm the boss.
No.
Yeah, I've always wondered about the word.
If you refer to your boss again,
Oh.
if you refer to your boss self as the boss again, you will not be the boss.
So I'm the guy in charge.
The guy that decides which are the most critical tasks and then assigns those tasks to the person with the best skills.
He like rolls his shoulders. He goes, kind of sounds like I'm in charge. And he's
Cyprian
got this shit-eating grin on his face.
Cyprian will roll his eyes and then close them and rub his forehead.
I feel like Willow and this mech tech go for drinks like every weekend.
Every weekend. They're like, how can we mess with everybody?
He'll, once he's finished rubbing his head, he'll be like, if you say that you're in charge or that you're more than anybody else, I'll put Tom in charge. And then he will be in charge. And I will make all of you call him the boss. Okay?
Dina says, as long as I'm not the boss, I don't want to be the boss.
He'll nod and go, yeah, didn't think you did, so it's fine.
She's not paying attention anymore.
No.
But Tom looks over at Richie and then looks to you. He goes, well, I mean, I don't care if he's the boss. He does have the most experience. Richie is just beaming, Cheshire grin on his face, and he's just like, eh?
Cyprian will go and turn and walk away and then turn back around and be like, just make sure that the most important tasks are dealt with. Stop dicking about with all the little bits and pieces, and then kind of pointedly look at Dina, who is not paying attention.
At all.
Make sure shit gets done and shit gets done right.
You got it. So, hey, everybody, I'm not the boss or in charge, but I'm going to be telling you what to do. So, okay, I need Tom over there. Dina, just get back into the cop. And he just starts directing everyone to do what they're supposed to do. And you notice a kind of the busy work that wasn't actually getting anything done. It's been replaced with direction. And what I'm going to allow you all to do is actually repair your mechs. So if you're like, you can put back 2 ticks on any part of your armor that was damaged. So any place that was damaged, you can give yourself 2 ticks back on it. It's not fully repaired, but you are going to be able to get some work done. It's just this direction, now that they have a not leader, it seems to be going much better. And those that are best at the work are getting directed to where they go. And I think that was absolutely brilliant, Cyprian. So I want to say thank you for that. Richie's really excited to not be in charge, but he's gonna get himself a little badge that says "Not the Boss." That'd be great. But any other scenes that anyone else wanted to have prior to heading to the bridge of the Stropo? Once, twice, 3 times a lady. All right, so we pivot again, and this is like the beginning of the third day. You've had time, Callum, to talk with Yenni. You've come up with these options. We have about 3 different options before us about what we can do, and we're going to pivot over to the meeting on the bridge of the Stropo, and it's it's a Leopard class dropship bridge, and everyone that is really important, that's going to be kind of the movers and shakers. You've got the 2 civilian captains. You've got Captain Upshire and Captain Miribeth, and they've been really kind of keeping to themselves, mostly on the bridges of their 2 different dropships, and have just been monitoring comm traffic. You can actually hear the radio behind, and there's reports of the battles, the wars, different cities being taken on Kentares, and it looks like, based on just a little chatter that you're hearing from that radio that's just very quiet in the background, that Kentares has fallen. It is, there's like a couple of pockets of resistance, but those should be wrapped up here in the next week, is what the reports are saying. So you see the captains. Now, Miribeth is, to describe her, she's got a very thick kind of Irish accent, which I'm not going to do because it just gets really messy when I do it. And Upshire is, he's not a serious man, but he's not a comical man. He's just very mellow. And you can see the 2 of them have been talking, and as everyone kind of piles into the bridge, Miribeth is the first to speak, and she says, all right, so where the fuck are we going? Because I'm going to be honest with you, like, I'm glad we were able to help you guys, but, we were tied to the sergeant, and I'm kind of thinking we want to offload you somewhere, and, good luck, but, like, what's the plan here? Because at this point, I think we might be criminals or outlaws, and you see Upshire say, we're not criminals or outlaws, all right? I mean, what are we going to go back to? All of our supply trade routes are now taken over by Catherine Steiner, and then there's a little bit of an argument that goes on, but I'm curious, does anyone jump in to kind of break this up?
Willow will immediately jump in.
Okay.
So sounds like you 2 are having a bit of a trouble with what you're doing after this. I understand you want to offload us and get back to something, but do you have any idea what that something is?
Upshire speaks up first and says, well, there's nothing to go back to. We might have been civilian transports, but most of our work was for the military, and that military complex is, well, he just like
I hadn't noticed. So, given that, do you want to make some C-bills?
Marybeth, her eyebrows kind of raise up. She says, do you have a suggestion on how we might do that?
Yes, I do. You fall under our employ.
And she starts laughing. Like, not aggressively, but like, your employ? What? You're a ragtag group of former military soldiers that have 4, well, I guess 8 mechs. We got a couple of light ones off there for you. My suggestion is we sell all of these mechs, we split everything amongst us, and go our separate ways. And then, you can fuck off and do whatever you want to do.
Cyprian will jump forward and go, oh, if you've got job offers, do you want to pass them around? Because I'm sure that there's loads of civilians that are looking for employment at the moment.
She will pipe down a little bit and allow the rest of the group to present the options that you've come up with. All right, I'll listen.
So
all we ask.
Lawrence will step forward and say, the first primary option or direction that we should head, that leads to many other options, is to head to Robinson, the capital of the Draconis Marsh. It's not far away. It is a sizable manufacturing area. We can get our mechs repaired, we can get everything refueled, and we can go several ways from there. One would be to regroup with Federated Commonwealth forces that will possibly lead us to help retaking Kentares IV. The other is to link up with the Mercenary Review Board and find several or join up with several notably larger mercenary companies and go that way. And the third way is to simply go independent, using our own forces to take on any small jobs that are reviewed by the MRB.
Upshire jumps in and says, well, I mean, if we're going to go to Robinson, that's 4 jumps, and that's going to cost X number of sea bills. Do we even have that much money? That's when the corporal pipes in. He goes, I can get us 2 jumps with what I have, but that's going to put us in one of the uninhabited systems. So can we plot a course real quick? And you see Miribeth goes to one of the course computers, plugs it in. She goes, well, we'd have to jump to Arwats, then Chota, then Klamis 5, and then we could get to Robinson. But that's 2 systems that are completely abandoned, and, well, not completely, but mostly abandoned. I mean, maybe we could find some... Are you guys thinking of going mercenary? I mean, is that the plan here? I mean, we've got enough money for 2 jumps. That's where we can go.
I think this is a good point where I think we shouldn't go to Robinson. And I think we shouldn't go to Robinson because if we go to Robinson, we're no longer the masters of our own destiny. You can't accept an offer from the devil and expect it to be free and clear. And if we get any help from any military forces that are in open hostility with Catherine, then we're a part of that. Plus, it's far away. But we do have other options, I'm sure. And he'll look over to the corporal and say, I believe the Mr. Devonne, who I think I should start calling you Commander now. You have some options within 2 jumps?
And he actually looks over to Yenni. And he nods to her, and she says, well, I know this might have been stupid, but I reached out to one of my old employers, a guy I used to work with on Exeter. It's primarily an industrial planet, but they've been having some trouble with, well, raids, pirate raids. With the Civil War that's starting to quickly unfold, pirates, less than savory folks are starting to get a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? And she actually struggles with it for a second. Bold, I suppose. And he said he might be able to get us some work. At least enough to where if we do want to travel elsewhere, it'd give us enough sea bills to, I guess, get out of the direct system. It's 2 jumps away, based on the calculation I made. So, based on what the corporal said, I mean, it's at least a starting point.
Anything to get us our foot in the door? I don't know about the rest of you, but my mech is pretty messed up. It requires some serious work, and we don't have the resources for it. So, we need to do something now. And Willow looks over to the 2 pilots and says, and that's where you come in. You can drop us off. We'll find some other ships to take us from there. Or you can link up with us, be under our employ. Whatever we make, we share with you.
You see Upshire. He's really considering this. Miribeth still seems slightly unconvinced about this, but he looks to her, and he looks back to you. I mean, I have heard that mercenary companies can be, well, very lucrative. And she's kind of nodding her head back and forth, thinking to herself.
Cyprian will pipe up and just be like, if you don't want to join up with us, then Miribeth, the least that I would ask is that you get all of the civilians to a safe planet. And do as much as you can to do that. Or you can stay with us.
I have one question. I have one question. And she actually locks eyes on Callum for some reason. You haven't said much. Are you in a line with everyone else?
Why does that matter?
Because if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure we don't have any traitors in our midst.
It's tough logic, but it's logic.
And I think at that point, Callum's eyes will just sort of narrow a little bit at the word traitor. This is, 9 times out of 10, if you throw an accusation like that at me, it'd go badly for you. So I'll just say this. Where these men go, I go. Their enemies are my enemies, and you just had your 1 out of 10.
She smiles at Callum. She smiles wide. It's not condescending. It's an approving smile. I like this one. All right, I'm in. Whipshire says, I'm in too. And then the corporal pipes in. So now the question remains, are we going to try to link up with a larger mercenary company? We're going to go independent.
I believe that Cyprian said that linking up with a larger mercenary unit would offend his Marxist leanings. So I believe
He's gonna
we're going to
jump in
stay
and just be
independent.
like, I don't like to be. Why would you deliberately put yourself into the wage slavery of somebody else?
Lawrence will pipe up and say, parts availability, refueling, ammunition,
It's all of the
supplies,
benefits.
food, guarantees of missions.
There's no reason, see?
I mean,
Don't
a
forget.
co-op is very nice and a good idea, but we need jobs.
This is what I propose. I think that we, in my ever so humble opinion, we have the skills and the abilities to go anywhere, to do anything. I don't think there's 4 just out of boot camp mech pilots who could take on a force that size that we just took on and walk away. Even with our sergeant's noble sacrifice and his support, I don't think that would have been possible with anyone else. I don't think we should link up with another company, because then we can't make our own decisions. We're stuck with whatever they decide for us. And that's not something that I have much good experience with.
Nobody ever wants their life determined by somebody else.
That's not true. I know plenty of people who do. But I don't want our lives determined by someone else. Because if I'm going to sell my life, I want it to be in service to the rest of you, not in some service to some mercenary company.
So Yenni then speaks up. So then we're going independent. And you can see she's really happy about this. And then she poses the question. So what are we going to call ourselves? I love the silence.
Willow pipes up says, well, if no one has any ideas, I think we should call ourselves Willow's Mercenaries.
I think that's a terrible idea.
I think it's a great
Awful.
idea.
I hate it.
I
I
hate
hate it.
you.
No,
Oh,
it's
wonderful.
terrible.
I
No,
hate that
It's the best idea I've ever
absolutely
come up
terrible.
with.
Awful.
100.
Abysmal.
I'm so proud of me.
If it's the best idea you have come up with, that is not saying anything. Good.
You know, that didn't make any sense, but I like that you tried. I'm proud of you, Lawrence.
I love it.
I
Absolutely love it.
Well, we have until we get there to figure it out.
Yeah, we have to. So I've inferred we have to get with the mercenary review board. Is that what it is?
I think we have to get bonded.
Well, whatever that means. I don't deal with any of this paperwork shit. I think that's Yenni's job.
Corporal jumps in and says, I can take care of that. I'll make sure it gets done. He looks to Yenni. reach out to your contact, let him know that we'll take the job, whatever it is. And he looks at everyone else, and the rest of you, I guess, come up with a good name. And he actually looks at Cyprian for a moment, kind of lingers on him, and then just nods his head for a moment. And that is one of the first times in your life that you've like felt like he's acknowledged you in a positive way, and it wasn't like I'm always kind of disappointed in you and I wish you could do better, but there's like a small acknowledgement in there from him. And unless anyone else has anything else to say, I actually think this is a good scene to end, and I'm going to let you guys determine over the next week what you plan to call yourselves. It's going to take about 45 days to get to the planet that you're planning to go to. And any other thoughts? Any other scenes anyone wants to have prior to us kind of wrapping this up with that question of what would we call ourselves hanging in the air?
Willow will just try and tell Yenni to make sure that repairs are part of the payment,
Absolutely.
maybe in advance.
Absolutely. I love it. And with that, that is actually where we will end today's session. I just want to say thank you to you all. I thought that went incredibly well. Really liked the interactions that we saw from everybody, and no, just constantly impressed with you guys. Any final thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns before we wrap this up?
The only thing I might be wondering about is for the young girl. Do we have simulators anywhere on this or no?
Not currently, no.
Okay.
I'm sure Dina can turn one of the light mechs into a simulator.
You could
Yeah,
probably,
that's
you
what
could
I'm
probably get one of
wondering, yeah.
those, started for sure. But no, great job, everybody. Hope you had fun. I liked that. It was a
It was
pretty
fantastic.
RP
Yeah,
heavy
it was great.
session, but
It's great.
I liked where things ended up. I like that we have a plan, and next session will be about 45 days. So a couple things I'd like you guys to think about is what would you do over those 45 days? What would you be focused on? Any interactions you'd like to have, and how would your characters, I know it's only about a month, but would you change in any way? What would you guys be focused on during that journey? And also, I need everyone to think about what do you want to call yourselves before next session, and I look forward to seeing that deliberation in the Discord channel. But to all of our viewers that stopped in today, just want to say thank you. To those watching the VOD that's going to be posted later on, thank you for that as well. And as I always say at the end of every session, thanks for watching and happy gaming, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Yes.
Oop, let me hold on one second. Broken. Boop, boop.